Europe's premier footballing competition, the UEFA Champions League, needs changing if it's to become great again. Welcome to Halftime Football, where today I'm going to explain to you exactly how that can be done. So let's take a look at the format we have now. Qualifiers for 5 rounds, group stages where every team plays 6 matches, and then bang, the round of 16, quarters, semis, the finals. Just hear me out as I go over the problems with this. First off, we see the exact same teams every year in the latter stages. I'm talking Man City, Real Madrid, PSG, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Juventus. Very rarely does a run like Ajax or Villarreal happen, and even then, when does that result in a victory for one of those underdog teams? The last one I can think of is Porto in 2004. It just gets really boring to see the exact same teams every year, and it needs to be spiced up a little bit. Also, the competition is so inappropriately named. It's called the Champions League. Why am I seeing teams like Wolfsburg, Sevilla and Man United? You can be entirely average all season, scrape a top 4 finish in the top 5 leagues and still qualify for the competition. It would have made sense if it was called the Champions League in the European Cup era, you know, when only champions competed. But no, instead we had this watered down clusterfuck of bang average teams every year. And because of this, games only get entertaining when it goes to the knockout rounds. Literally no big club ever cares about the group stage games because there's so much room to screw up. You saw this season, Real Madrid lost to Sheriff Tiraspol at the Bernabeu, yet they're still in the final. The group stage allows so much leeway to these teams, and because of this, the competition only gets interesting when it gets to the quarterfinals. Yes, when it gets interesting, it gets really entertaining, like with Real Madrid's run this season, but it's the premier footballing competition on the continent. It should be far more interesting and exciting between August and March. And don't even get me started on the reforms coming from 2024. They're giving the 2 extra spots to the countries with the top 2 coefficients, I believe, and this just creates an even bigger closed shop between the big boys, and it allows for mediocrity to be celebrated. Why should a 5th place finish be rewarded? You could have the 5th place team in England or Spain, for example, being fast-tracked into the competition because of this rule, and they get in ahead of a team who rightfully earned their spot by winning their domestic league, like in Belarus, for example. This will further increase the golfing quality we already see between the best teams and the rest of Europe because so much more money is going to be concentrated into those top 5 leagues. Also, the way it's being done is arguably the worst bit of all. A 36-team league with 10 group stage games. Have they not been listening to the cries of players and managers based on fixture congestion? This will force the bigger clubs to dip into the transfer market even further to address issues of squad depth, not only creating a bigger golfing class between them and the rest of their league, but them and the rest of Europe. Teams like City, Liverpool, Real Madrid, PSG, they're going to pull away even more, rendering domestic football almost pointless. Also, again, the 10 games, it gives so much more room for the big clubs to slip up and still qualify. It doesn't make any sense. There's so much in these reforms that's similar to the Super League, which was so heavily criticised, and this was not the way to reform the Champions League whatsoever. That being said, here's what I think they should do. I think it should be a straight knockout tournament from the beginning, 64 teams. The Champions League winners, the Europa League winners, the Conference League winners, 2 teams each from the top 6 leagues, and the league champions of the other 49 UEFA nations. Scrap the group stages. I don't care if they bring UEFA more TV money. It's a waste of time for spectators and teams. Straight knockout games are far more entertaining, like we've seen this season with Man City, Real Madrid, PSG, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Villarreal, Juventus. It's far better. I also personally prefer the one-legged fixtures that we saw in 2020 after football restarted following a lockdown, because far more upsets can happen and it actually forces teams to go out and attack. There's none of this nonsense of scraping the 1-0 in the first leg then sitting back for 90 minutes like Atletico Madrid do, though I would still be fine with 2-legged ties. I feel like this would create a competition that's far more entertaining to the masses because we'd see more upsets, and better yet, we might finally see teams like Red Star Belgrade and Steaua Bucharest winning it again. We'd see tactics and teams that we'd never see in the current format because they're always weeded out so quickly in the qualifiers and in the group stages. The competitors from lesser nations would earn more TV revenue, making European football a far more level playing field, and we might stop seeing the same nations dominating the winners lists every single year. The Champions League would be more than a competition that's just entertaining for 2 months. There'll be players and teams going in with passion. It would be wonderful. The competition would feel far more prestigious to win because you're defeating actual champions along the way. The name would finally make sense. And also, it requires 2 successive seasons of success. That's a tongue twister, but you know what I mean, because you have to qualify by either winning one of the 3 other European competitions or by winning your domestic league. This would make teams and legacies far more iconic because you can't just scrape your way into the top 4 and qualify, then come into your element and then win the Champions League the next season. True resilience, talent and endurance would be required to win the Champions League. The glory of the competition would be truly restored. But this will never happen. Instead, in 2 years' time, we have these reforms that nobody asked for, but UEFA went ahead and made something that reads exactly like a European Super League. Seferin and the rest of UEFA are absolute disgraces for slagging off and hounding the Super League every single opportunity they could get in the past year, only to make this, which looks exactly like a Super League. Literally 2 days ago, he was sucking himself off about the destruction of the Super League, saying it won't happen again in the near future. Yet him and his group of idiotic yes-men have gone and created something so similar, yet no one in that UEFA leadership circle jerk will oppose it, because hey, more games means more money, and more big team involvement means more coverage. We need Manchester United in that competition, we need Barcelona in that competition, just so we can get the Asian TV money in. This competition is the peak of European football. We need to see the best teams in their respective nations competing every year, not the same clubs in a closed shop on stupid merit-based places. It's so strange how that merit thing has kind of been accepted, by the way. Initially, the plan was to have 2 extra teams put in based off that European coefficient, which would cause scenarios like, for example, if West Ham finished 5th and Man City finished 6th, Man City would get the qualification to the Champions League. Yes, it was great that it was scrapped, but I hate how people have more or less not said anything about the idea of these 2 nation merit places. It's like, well, this bloke could have stabbed 70 people and then fucked my mother, but he only stabbed 70 people, so it's alright. That's how it feels. UEFA are just as corrupt and tone deaf when it comes to football as Perez and all the big mob bosses that are heads of big clubs. The big clubs who know they're falling off the map, so they need to find an excuse to manipulate their way into the top competition just so they can have some more TV revenue and survive for a few more years. Football is dying, and we are witnesses to the gradual yet gruesome decline of the greatest sport in the world. So in short, we need to adapt the Champions League to the way I've suggested, or it will die as a competition and being involved will lose all conceptual value. Well, not monetary value, of course. Anyway, sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there, but I just wanted to say it. But that is all I have today. Thank you very much for watching. If you did make it this far, please leave a like and subscribe, and let me know what you want to see in the future in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.